Hey everyone, hope you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update of commodities, work our way through the dollar, yields, precious metals, and commodities ETFs that I follow. I'll interject my financial opinions as we go. If you need help with anything, check out finding-value.com. That's where I dive a little bit deeper into individual companies, individual sectors, and give my opinions there. You can see my portfolio. You can see the companies that I'm buying in real time. And we still have a coupon code LEAP, LEAP, going on right now. Let's dive in. Let's see what's going on. We've got the DXY. It is still holding on above the trend line. Looks very similar to something like oil and even rates moving on up, but the dollar is holding steady, and it still looks like to me that this could potentially still go higher as we are above that support level. The 2-year yield's up 0.88%, and it is breaking to the upside. All of the people who are thinking that we are going to get lower rates, that is not what the 2-year is telling me. It is saying that we are going to go higher with this breakout that we have today. 10-year yield also up today. We're up above support, and it still looks good to hold here or try to go higher. It's still holding on. And then the 30-year yield, we were up again 1.4%. We're still in the big pattern for both the 10-year and the 30-year, but with the 2-year breaking to the upside, that makes me think that the long end of the curve could still go higher as well. So we're still in a decision area where it hasn't made its decision. It's not in a trend yet. But with the 2-year going up, it makes me think it could still go higher depending on what oil does. And there's a strong correlation between rates and oil prices. TYX TNX ratio slightly lower, but it's still historically at a very low level where the yield curve is inverted. This is the 30-year and 10-year. And I use this for a measurement for gold and silver. And it's a good time to be looking for precious metals because the yield curve is inverted here. TLT, which is bond price, is just moving sideways. Just moving sideways. If yields go up, we would see prices go down, and they do look a little bit weak. We've got the 2 and 10-year, a little bit more yield curve inversion going on, and we've just been meandering sideways here for a good chunk of time. There's that chunk there, and then we've got the whole yield curve inverted, just meandering sideways. So that is still meandering sideways at the moment. Gold doesn't mind the yield curve inversion. It is continuing to go up $12 an ounce today. Looking pretty good, and the momentum is still in gold. It's still continuing. Silver's up 1.5%. We do have a clear breakout here. There's your juiced move for the weekly candlestick. Today we were up 1.44, and it still looks okay. A little bit of volatility the past couple of trading sessions with these big wicks on the bottom and a little bit of one on the top. Moving to platinum. Platinum's up big, $36 an ounce. Big bullish engulfing too. And we're right underneath a potential breakout, which I think we're going to break out at any second. Looks really good. And if that momentum can continue, platinum's looking really, really strong. Palladium also going up $46 an ounce, 4.6% today. This is an inverted shoulder, head, shoulder. We broke out, and we're basically sitting above the neckline. And today we had a pretty strong day. Pretty strong day. Will that momentum continue? I do think that we could try to move higher here. We can throw a downtrend line on this, where we are starting to break out here. That downtrend line. So that also is good, and I do like the palladium here. So we got my boy Platy looking really good. And what should we call this guy? I don't know. Put in the comment section what we should call palladium for a nickname. XAU to gold ratio, a little bit of a down day today. We are playing around with this resistance line that I drew on the monthly candlesticks. If we zoom in, I hit the closing spots on all these, and we're right on top of that trend line. We're right on top of it. So I'd like to see gold and silver miners really kick it into gear here with gold going up on those up days. We had an up day today and it kind of underperformed a little bit, but I'm still remaining positive on gold and silver mining companies due to how underpriced they are in relationship to gold. This is probably one of the cheapest sectors in the markets at the moment. So it's something I'm going to be watching. CRB index, slightly lower, just moving sideways. I call that a bloody nose. Little bloody nose going on. So that still looks good to continue higher. We have had a pretty big run with not much of a consolidation or pullback yet. So we could see this consolidate or do something here in the short term. CRB versus S&P 500, this still looks favorable for commodities to outperform the S&P 500. Nice big bullish candlestick there, two small little down days next to it. Looks good to continue higher for this ratio. And then I expect this to really get into gear at some point where the CRB index vastly outperforms the S&P 500. Probably a combination of the CRB index going up and S&P 500 either going sideways or slightly lower. So GDX has broken out of this big pattern. We zoom in on it. Yeah, we have a down day today, but it still looks okay. Still looks all right, and we could, it's possible, get a retest out of this. But I do know that gold and silver and some of these sectors, they really rip when they rip. So I'm not going to wait around for a potential pullback. I'm just holding steady, letting it rip. We were basically sideways in GDXJ, but still looks great. It still looks great to continue higher if the bulls want to push it here. And then SILJ is up 0.45%. A little bit of momentum loss. We had a real strong opening. Here's what we look like in the opening here. So we had a strong opening going up here, sold off, but then came back up throughout the day to finish the day kind of mediocre. So momentum-wise, we're kind of in the middle for momentum. It's not horrible. It's not great. It's just kind of blah is what I'll say. But we still have momentum from the bigger overall picture here moving on up. So it still looks really good. Crude oil down a little bit, 0.46%. It tried selling off throughout the day, but it didn't really establish that sell-off downtrend. We came back up towards the end of the day. So I think it still looks good. The momentum's still to the upside. No real damage done today. TTF up 4.4%, right on support. And it does look like we could try to work our way on up. We've got natural gas up 3.14. It's a bullish engulfing. Looks like we are going to go higher. So I've got that in there, and it's probably correctly drawn. Let's move on up. Our boy XOP, yeah, you know me, down a little bit, down 0.55%. Little bloody nose on the weekly there. We're above the neckline. We could come back down and do a retest. It is still possible. I am not banking on that. Momentum's to the upside, but we've had a pretty good move from 134 up to 160. So we could pause. It's possible. But everything looks good. Nothing really to report negatively there. This is a bearish piercing, so we could see a little bit of downside pressure or more sideways action in energy, oil services. So a little bit of a selling pressure day there. It still looks all right in the longer term. We've had a pretty monster move, so maybe we consolidate or something like that. We'll see. Sprott Physical Uranium Trust up 1.34%, right on support, and that's what we're getting. We're getting some support today, and it's holding at the moment. Going to URA. URA, a little bit of momentum gained throughout the day. Not a total loss, and we are continuing to work our way on up. I've got the blue fractal that's overlaid here, and I do think that we are still working that way on the fractal. Just be patient, guys. It's working. URNM sold off a little bit, but we're still above support. Everything looks good. We got nice support. That's why there's a wick at the bottom. We'll see if we can engage the buyers here. You know, is this kind of a little pullback deal going on? where we're just consolidated for a couple of days. URNJ also down a little bit, but we do have a wick at the bottom. We'll see if we can slingshot from the wick. So we sold off. You guys probably can't see that. We'll do a line chart there. So we sold off, and then we're bouncing back up. So momentum is coming back up throughout this day. It's not a huge momentum move, but we'll see if we can bounce here or not. TAN up 1.4. This thing's still going sideways. Not a huge fan of solar, I'll be honest, but copper's still looking great, guys. Big move. Still momentum to the upside. Looks fantastic. Broken out of the triangle pattern, and we're ready to rip. We have been ripping, I should say. And then COPX is up 1.93%. Kind of an ugly looking candlestick, to be honest, but it's still good. We've broken out, and we still stair-stepping higher. We've got lithium up 1.69%, and I think it looks good. We had a bullish engulfing there, so that generally works its way on up. We do have a bearish piercing there. Kind of weird to see that there's still sellers down here because we've had a pretty monster bit. This is a big pullback for lithium. We are above support, so we'll see if we get support, and we'll see if we get some traction here to move on up. It looks like it wants to go higher. RMX also up a little bit. Looks like it's trying to break out of this little I guess triangle I drew in there, even though that might not be a legit triangle, guys. I'll probably delete that out. I was kind of just throwing it in there, but we're up today, and we'll see if we can get the momentum to work our way on up. It is cheap down here for RMX in relationship to other things. There could also be, this where we break to the downside as we enter this from the top side down. So we'll see. We'll see what occurs. S&P 500. Doesn't look that great to me, guys. I mean, we have this big bearish engulfing and not much of a response after. Still looks good to go down lower in the short term. Unless we get the plunge protection team in here, that's my best guess at this moment. This also looks kind of nasty to go down. You have a couple bearish engulfings here. It doesn't look that great, but somehow the NASDAQ and S&P continue to make strong showings. Momentum is lost here. We've been moving sideways, and I do think there is a probability of heading lower. KRE still working its way, looking not too bad today, up 1.7% from the housing market and all the loans that they're about to make. Again, we could get it's possible we could get a slowdown where rates need to be lowered to increase more lending in the system. Very well could. Emerging markets basically hanging out here for a good long while, just bouncing sideways. I do think this will eventually break at some point and work its way on out. So it's looking all right. It's hanging in there. XHB was flat today. Doesn't like those increase of rates, but this does look a little bit toppy where we could head a little bit lower here in the home builders in the short term. MU also looking pretty good, breaking out of the downtrend line, and we could eventually work our way on up. And this is where I would be a buyer. Well, down here probably, but we've got iron ore. This looks not too bad. Right support, big bullish engulfing on the weekly here for iron ore. It's actually looking pretty good. And we saw a bounce in a lot of our diversified mining companies. So I think it looks good. We'll probably try to bottom here or go higher. In this, we've got nickel up 2.33%. Looks like this is trying to put in higher highs, higher lows. We'll see if we can trend higher here in nickel. Doesn't look too bad. We've got aluminum also higher. That's looking pretty good. Momentum to the upside for aluminum. And we could see a big move in aluminum here. This is a pretty long basing pattern where we could work our way on up. Baltic Dry Index down a little bit. We are right on support. Can't really see that there, but we're getting close to support here. With iron ore going up, I would expect Baltic Dry Index to turn around soon. Newcastle Coal just moving sideways, trying to break out, which we haven't yet, but I do expect this to pop out. That's right, pop out. But right there with the downtrend line, trying to break it. And we've got a squeeze going on here. We can see that the candlesticks are getting squeezed up into the corner there. So I do expect a big move out of this probably pretty soon. Bitcoin rolling higher, up 3.19%. Is this a breakout or not? Difficult to say. We're basically right on top of it. So we'll see. Usually on a breakout, you close strong. We got a little wick there. Makes me think that there's some sellers that want to unload some Bitcoin, some zeros and ones. And then we've got 6.72% higher in Ethereum. Pretty strong day today. Good momentum and a strong close. We'll see if that can continue. Could this be a Batman pattern or something like that? We'll find out. Let's just wait and see. What does a Batman pattern look like? It looks like this. Something like that. And we'll see if we get that. SMCI, another one I'm following, doesn't look that hot. Kind of a head and shoulder topish pattern. We zoom into it. We're down today 2% right on the neckline, and we'll see if that neckline holds or if it will give out and we head lower. Also looking at NVIDIA. NVIDIA is getting these big bearish engulfings showing up, and that's generally time to get a little bit toppy there. A little bit tipsy, and I would be looking for a move lower. But that's what I've got for today, guys. Give me a thumb up for the content. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to the website. Today's winners go to Platinum and Palladium. They were the strongest of the group, and they are our winners for today. So that's what I've got for today. We'll catch you guys tomorrow. This is Finding Value.